For my presentation, I will be showing you a documentary about terrorism and my journey on inflicting positive change regarding it. I hope you guys can all take away a little something from this documentary, and I hope you share it with your families to inflict positive change regarding the subject.
This just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
And we are coming back on the air right now with more on that horrifying night in Paris. Police have now confirmed at least 4 attacks in the city of Paris tonight. One at the Stade de France, where there was a major soccer game between France and Germany. The French President Francois Hollande in attendance. The AP reporting there were suicide bombers outside the stadium. You could hear it right there as the game was going on.
Terrorism is a horrible epidemic in our current society. Most people don't even know about the horrible effects that terrorism has, not only on people worldwide, but also on the economy, the environment, and even mental health. To give you an idea about how much terrorism affects the world, here are a few graphs and statistics. This first graph shows as we start to modernize from the year 2000 up, the number of terrorist incidents, deaths, and injuries all increase. This shows that as terrorism attacks are becoming more frequent, we are not putting forth our best efforts to stop it. And looking at the trend, we can see that as the years continue, we will only continue to see a rise in all 3 categories until something is done. This second graph is extremely important for us to see living in North America. This is because it shows how lucky we are to be living in a great country that doesn't experience a lot of terrorism. The reason we don't appreciate it as much as other countries is because it's not a daily thing as much as it is in places like the Middle East.
I'd say that terrorism is when a group of people or a person acts for a religious or political reason against another opposing religious or political group to make a point about what they believe in. But it's usually very violent.
So terrorism is basically just an act of terror, most of the time against civilians for political gain, basically, essentially.
I feel that the acts of terrorism that are happening in the Middle East they're terrible because they're killing innocent people, but in the end, we're not responsible for it.
Honestly, it's the Middle East, not me.
So you don't really care?
Not really.
No? Alright.
I think we are going to experience more just because as our technology gets more and more advanced, we're gonna try and become more and more greedy and just like more power hungry, and it's just gonna feel like it would just end badly.
Well, I definitely think as we develop as a country, we will also mature and become more aware and have a better method of dealing with terrorism as we grow. But also as we develop, I think we'll see new forms of terrorism emerge with cyber crimes and stuff. So we'll probably have new threats we'll have to deal with, and we'll have to come up with ways to figure that out.
I don't think we're a great country. I think we're an okay country. I'm happy that I'm here because I get to use the technology and I get drinking water whenever I want. But I'm pretty glad to live here.
I don't go outside, but if I did, I'd be so happy.
I would definitely go out and ask people if they knew what terrorism was. I would do similar to what you were doing. I'd make sure that people knew what it was. People knew that it was actually happening, because we definitely don't see as much of it here. We don't walk outside and see it outside. We hear of it, we don't see it.
Well, me, as in the state I am, I don't really know what I could do on a high level to affect positive change, but
What about on a low level?
on a low level, I guess I could definitely do my part to clear up when people to learn about it, and then gain a better understanding, and then help other people to gain an understanding by correcting them if they make assumptions, or maybe tell people about it, spread the word.
The first project, Tech Against Terrorism, is an IGO or international government organization that was implemented by the UN Counterterrorism Committee. This project focuses solely on terrorists targeting technology to commit these acts. By partnering with other technology companies such as the Global Internet Forum to counter terrorism, they were able to make a 4-step plan to understand how terrorists were exploiting technology. The first step means that they go through the threats and uncover what they are threatening to do. The second step means understanding how the terrorists made the threat and how they are planning to exploit technology to undergo this act. The third step means they go to a board and see how the stakeholders respond to the company's response. And the last step means they support tech companies and new startups to help them stop the terrorist acts and stop the exploitation of technology. The second project, NATO, or North Atlantic Trade Organization, eliminates terrorism in the 28 countries that they are aligned with, such as Canada and the United States of America. NATO also focuses all their efforts on these 3 guidelines: awareness, capabilities, and engagement. These 3 guidelines make up how they stop terrorism. The first guideline means being aware of terrorist threats towards any of the NATO-aligned countries. The second guideline means thinking about the capabilities that this terrorist group has. And the last is eliminating the terrorist threat through non-violent or violent measures. Now on to my journey in inflicting positive change around terrorism. I started off my journey on reflecting what terrorism Canada has experienced. For example, the Quebec shooting in an Islamic mosque on January 29, 2017. Or the Parliament Hill shooting on October 22, 2014. Then I thought, how could this have happened? I thought Canada was an extremely safe place with tons of protective measures in place. The truth is, it still is. Although we have experienced a few deeply tragic terrorist acts, I think it has made us greater and stronger as a country. But the truth is, to really eliminate terrorism, we need to look back at past mistakes and mend them for the new generation to take over. The next step in my journey was sending a letter to the Canadian government, specifically the cyber safety and security sector. I wrote about requesting more information on terrorism and how their definition related to the van driver that ran over many people in the heart of Toronto. Unfortunately, I never got a response back from them, but I am still waiting patiently for some information. As you can see from this documentary, my journey on inflicting positive change regarding terrorism was hard fought. I will not give up and continue to wait for a response. In the meantime, I hope everyone has learned something new about terrorism and the horrible effects it can have worldwide. Please share some of the information you learned with your family, and maybe you might also inflict positive change. I will leave you with a look at some of the few terrorist acts that have made a huge impact on the world.
Very shocked that such an incident has taken place.
Seeing and hearing about that is horrifying.